Welcome into the show. It's Let Me Put a List Together, and today's topic will be something that should be precious to all of our hearts. We will be talking about moms, and specifically TV moms, the top 10 TV moms, and those are the ones that we will rank on this list today. What up, Bri?
What's up, man? How are you, brother?
I'm great.
You're doing the best?
I'm the best.
You are the best.
Thank you. That's all I needed to hear.
Considering your week, you sound like you're doing pretty well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thumbs up, sky point to the great Les Grobstein, Score Overnight host, who unfortunately passed away at the age of 69. He's a classic in Chicago that our Chicago listeners right now probably remember and are honoring as we speak. So love you, Les Grobstein.
Yeah, and we'll dedicate this show to Les, because I'm sure he had his share of favorite TV moms, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. He had his lists, too. Hey,
Yeah.
He did an overnight show, and you know, bro, from doing radio, that the overnight shift, there is no more space than when one does an overnight show. You can do anything. You could do this podcast 2 or 3 times in an overnight shift, even on a sports station.
It's an abyss. It's a dark abyss. It's a dark abyss that needs filling.
Right, so you want to be on the radio, huh? Well, here's 5 hours for you with about 7 or 8 listeners. Well, there's actually a lot more listeners, but they're usually driving and not participating. Let's put it that way.
All right, so let's take a look at these moms that we're going to be listing. And as Mark said, we have 10 of them. So we're going to check the rando bozo pewter, whatever the thing that what is it called? An algorithm, as Mark calls it.
Yeah, isn't it? Didn't I ship it to your house? I thought you had it now. You should have it. So yes, it is an algorithm list
I call it the
machine.
bozo pewter because that's remember, I don't know if you remember on Bozo, there used to be the bozo pewter that would pick the numbers for the grand prize game.
Oh, of course, man.
The bozo pewter. But anyways, here are the lists of moms. Claire Huxtable, Carol Brady, June Cleaver, Peg Bundy, Roseanne Connor, Marion Cunningham, Camilla Soprano, Marge Simpson, Elise Keaton, and Edith Bunker. So, Mark, as I say the list, I want you to start with your number 10 of the top TV moms.
Number 10 for me will be June Cleaver. And I got to tell you right now, Brian, she's ridiculous. I don't buy it. Those kids are going to be doing drugs at the age of 16. This is not a real mom. This is not the real world. June Cleaver, while I allowed our computer algorithm to put her on the list because she had to be on the list. She was a quintessential mom on a quintessential show. But June Cleaver is a fraud.
Wow.
An absolute fraud. I don't buy it, Brian. Okay. I don't buy it. I respect it. I don't buy it. And that's all I have to say about June Cleaver.
Wow. June Cleaver at number 10. Come
on, tell me those kids aren't doing drugs.
I understand, but there are people right now that is blasphemy because June Cleaver was the standard back then of what moms thought they should be in the late 50s and 60s.
You're right.
She was perfection, and perfection is easily performed on television. Not something you can do easily in life, which I'm sure a lot of women were just banging their heads against the wall.
Yeah.
But it's like requirements. You should always be dressed to the nines and in some beautiful dress, and you should be cooking
done
or sewing or ironing. Listen to this. When I was looking at clips, she was talking to the beaver. You know what she was doing? She was cleaning the ketchup bottles that were on the table.
Like she worked at a restaurant.
Yeah, like I'm not shitting you. She was cleaning like ketchup bottles or whatever bottles that were on the table, and she's just sitting there answering Beaver's, dumbass questions. But
while Wally is doing meth, that's what's going on. That's what's going on right there in that scene.
But for real, June, she could have easily been a working professional. She was smart and she was crazy intelligent, and I think Ward, he saw that too because
Ward,
a lot of the stuff. I know. Well, that was his name. I think Ward also saw that too because a lot of the stuff that needed to be figured out was always figured out together. The issue was handled together. So that was cool. But of course, Mark, as you said, the 50s were weird.
Fraud. All right, we'll leave it at that. There's no way, like when Beaver turned 15, that he wasn't in a big pile of cocaine. Okay. There's no way. His nose didn't come home blasted and white.
Sugar boogers. Oh, man. All right. So that was your number 10 was June Cleaver. Right now, seriously, there are people like that just have turned this off.
I know. That's okay.
Because you just started that horrible argument right there.
We got to spike the numbers on this podcast. So, I got to go hard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So June is 10. What you got for number 9,
right,
guy?
I'm doing the antithesis of June Cleaver, and that's Peg Bundy.
Okay.
Now, did Peg Bundy even work? I don't remember her even I don't know what she did.
Was she a hooker?
I don't. She dressed like.
She looked like a hooker.
I have no idea what was going on.
She was a hooker.
I don't remember her working. Maybe she did some part-time jobs for a small while, but she didn't do anything. I mean, and I think that was her charm, is that she just didn't do anything. But I remember her always trying to spend Al's money, and of course he didn't have any money because he was like a shoe salesman in the late 80s and probably had to buy everything on layaway or got awful payments for a long period of time to buy her anything. And I don't even think she was a housewife because she was never cleaning anything. She was never taking care of anything. I think at first she tried to make food, and it was just so horrible that they gave up on even trying to eat it. But I know that Peg loved Al. But at the same time, she was out there making fun of him and his stamina sexually and all of that. And, he wanted her to cook, but she didn't. So she loved the kids, but they really didn't turn out well. Gave them some advice. I have no idea. It's like just a really poor attempt at being a housewife and a mother. And it's just something that you loved to watch. So that was the appeal, is like, you know what? I'm not that bad of a mother because look at what I could be. I could be Peg Bundy, but I'm not. So I feel good. What do you think about Peg Bundy?
You put it all really, really well. And I love the angle of what did she do? Because I think the show, it was left. I haven't seen that show, since it was on. Yeah. And I did watch it quite a bit because I was at the right age to watch something ridiculous. But it was always left absolutely ambiguous. Like, how did they even pay the rent when Al Bundy was selling shoes? They had a house, and I know everything about it was modest and all of that. But yeah, so that's a great point by you. I will say this as well. She was just, I mean, these are the things that I wrote down, like just in my little notes. Is that a mom? Question mark. Bullet point. Out of control! Exclamation point. Like, there was nothing mom redeeming about her. There was never a moment. I don't ever remember a moment where there's like a serious moment, like a learning moment. Because it was the anti-sitcom, right?
Yeah, it was the anti,
the anti-family.
Classic, family.
Classic
sitcom,
family, right.
Family sitcom.
As you said, the antithesis of June Cleaver. It was like, we're going to blow up all this stuff and we're going to take it to an absolutely insane level. But they got their point across because Peg Bundy, I'm not saying there are mothers like that, but there are families like that, and there are out of control family, and probably more of those than there are the June Cleaver, Beaver Cleaver family. Yeah. So Peg Bundy, not a great mom, but a great TV mom.
So a great place at number 9. Now, that's where I think we should have started, is with Peg Bundy. But of course, you went for the fraud and took out my girl June, and now I'm kind of bent out of shape a little bit. I feel like you've hurt my own mom. Seriously, a little bit. So
I'm so sorry.
All right,
I hope I can redeem myself.
Peg is number 9. What do you have for number 8?
Marge Simpson. Simpson. I will say this about Marge Simpson.
Well,
first of all,
before you even go into Marge Simpson, she's one of mine that I've, as I said, and I know this is probably sacrilegious, but I really was not a huge Simpson person. I wasn't a huge Simpson fan.
So it's a blind spot for you.
Yeah, it is. And so the things I know about Marge I know she had blue hair. I know she had a weird ass voice, and I know that she just looked like she was completely, like she couldn't believe that she married Homer because of some of the shit he says. So, and that's the only thing I really know about Marge Simpson. So please shed light on why you think Marge Simpson should be at number 8.
Well, you nailed it. The voice, the hair, that family that she had to deal with. Most moms in her position, Brian, would have quit. Just would have quit.
Okay.
I'm not even saying divorced. Like, she would have just walked away. There's nothing, like, again, Homer is insane and impossible to deal with. But she did love Homer. That was her homie, as she said, and nobody was more prepared skill set wise to deal with Homer Simpson. She supported Homer. She knew he was ridiculous. She had to make special, arrangements oftentimes in order to support Homer or to bail Homer out in certain ways. But she did it, man. She did it, and she didn't do it with an iron fist. She did it inquisitively. She did it in a friendly blue hair sort of way. And then the kids were snots too, for the most part. So yeah, she had to deal with a lot. So she is maybe the strongest woman on this entire list. So Marge at 8.
Yeah, and I do remember her always having they always had dinners and stuff, right? They were always around the table eating and things.
Sure. Oh, it was a dysfunctional dinner, and something horrible probably happened at the dinner, or something was said that was
or
ridiculous.
Or whatever.
Yeah, no. She was insistent upon making that a family, and there was no way. Like I said, Marge, most people would quit. There was never any quit, Marge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was your pick of Marge Simpson at number
8.
8. Nice. So Marge Simpson at number 8, and we are moving into number 7 now. Number 7, I am going to go with Edith Bunker. From All in the Family. Now, Edith was, I will just tell you, when I was doing some research on this and just from some of the shows that I do remember, Wikipedia described her as an uneducated, kind, cheerful woman.
That's awesome.
Isn't that great?
I'll give you my word soon here.
Okay. Subservient to a fault.
Yeah.
Now her voice may have been, whiny and hard to listen to, but she did have, get this, a wonderful voice of reason when it came to her husband's rude, crude comments. She was always questioning why he was making those. And of course, he would give the dumb, stupid answers that he thought, the racist comments or whatever, because she knew of his shortcomings. She knew that those were his shortcomings, but she still, as you said, with Homer and Marge, still loved him. And she continued to love everyone, even beyond her husband's prejudices. I mean, still loved her neighbors and all different types of people. That never got in her way. And her brother, or her son-in-law, and her daughter, who were clearly in the post-hippie movement, she still loved them like crazy. Meathead, yeah. So that was her strong point. Like any mom, at the end of the day, she was there to keep the family together. And just one note I wanted to make: Jean Stapleton was a great actress, because Jean Stapleton, who played Edith Bunker, was an ardent feminist. So, I mean, she might have played that craziness on TV, but I'll tell you, though, her real world was she was an ardent feminist. So,
which
shows you how much of an actress she was.
Right. Yes, because the irony is just glistening through. I mean, Archie was not only all those things that you said, racist and discriminatory and undereducated and just unreasonable. He also was verbally abusive to Edith often. So when you stifle it there, Edith. And she
dingbat. He called her dingbat.
Dingbat.
Can you imagine calling, somebody calling their wife dingbat? I mean,
dude, I'll check this out. Real story. Mark Grace, who was the ex-Chicago Cub, was on the Cubs network, whatever, the Marquee network, and he was doing a game, and he was referring to one of his ex-wives, and he called her a dingbat, and he got a 2-day suspension or something like that.
Man.
He actually got disciplined for you. So to your point, exactly. Not only can you not get away with using that as a running joke within a professional sitcom, dingbat is something when you hear that and you call your wife or girlfriend dingbat, you can't do that.
Exactly.
And did he ever? Yeah. And what were the words you said that they used to describe her? Because I want to see if my words match up.
Uneducated, kind, cheerful woman. Sorry.
Mine were innocent, optimistic, tolerant were her things. And there was definitely a level that maybe she was a little bit uneducated for sure, but that was part of her charm and her hilarity and her, oh my God, her tolerance of everything around her. And well, let's just face it, Archie Bunker, one had to be tolerant of his complete ridiculousness and idiocy and all of the things that we have described.
You know what, as I think about Edith Bunker, I think that is part of the outrageousness of All in the Family at the time that it came out, because not only was it,
it was
covering those topics, but I mean, every angle of that was something that was totally shocking. Edith playing that subservient role, him being prejudiced, verbally abusing his wife, verbally abusing everyone. I mean, that was crazy shocking back then. I mean,
Oh my
it's
God.
shocking now. I mean, now I don't even know if that could even touch the airwaves, but
Right.
But
There's some-
back then, I mean, it was a little bit more of, we saw, I guess, humor through the craziness. And we realized how dumb he was,
Oh,
so.
well, exactly. And unfortunately, yeah, most people did. And then some people were like, oh, that guy, he's spot on. Yeah, that's right. He's spot
Well, now they would.
Well, no. Even then, though,
Yeah.
they're like, "Oh yeah, what's with this Jefferson guy coming over to the house?"
Yeah.
But the last thing I'll say, at least what I'll say about Edith, is there was the power of Edith Bunker. Moreover, Gene Stapleton, as you mentioned, as an actor. There was once, I don't know if you remember this. There was one incredibly serious episode of All in the Family, and it was very simply put, it was a episode where Edith gets raped, or at least attacked, or by a guy. I don't think she was actually ever raped, but at least attacked. And the audience of All in the Family reacted heavily with hate towards that guy, that actor that committed the felony against Edith. And it was actually a serious show, but it showed you the power of her character and her acting, that the audiences were just in a tizzy over that.
Yeah, Edith Bunker.
That's
just
seven, right?
just an amazing Gene Stapleton, an amazing job as Edith Bunker, and that is number 7, and that was mine. So we're moving into number 6. Do you have the list by chance?
I do. The countdown: 10, June Cleaver; 9, Peg Bundy; 8, Marge Simpson; and 7th, Edith Bunker. So what say you for number 6?
All right, hold that thought right there, Mark. You're listening to Let Me Put a List Together on the Podcast Entertainment Network.
Let Me Put a List Together is brought to you by...
This episode is brought to you by Vistaprint. You know when you give someone a gift that's so thoughtful they couldn't possibly part with it? This season, celebrate your favorite people by giving them something only they could get. At Vistaprint, capture that epic girls' weekend in a calendar for your besties, or send everyone a gorgeous holiday card with your family making not-so-gorgeous faces. Make something just for them at Vistaprint.com/podcast and make it unregiftable.
What if wearing underwear could feel better than going commando? Like if the waistband didn't roll or dig, and the fabric made you sweat less, and the whole thing moved with you, never against you. At Mack Weldon, we're reinventing men's basics, starting with your underwear. Introducing AirKnit X, our lightest, most breathable technology, engineered with 4-way stretch. If you don't love your first pair, it's free. So try one today at MackWeldon.com.
And now, back to Let Me Put a List Together on the Podcast Entertainment Network.
I am going to do, this one's going to be great. I'm looking forward to this one. Marion Cunningham from Happy Days. And I remember the Fonz on that show because I thought the Fonz was hilarious. Just the juxtaposition with the family and how much cooler he was and everything else. But I'm not going to lie to you, Brian. I can't do Marion Cunningham justice. I was not zeroed in on her enough. So I was going to pretend to just say stuff and maybe look some junk up. But instead, I'm going to have you tell us. Brian, tell us all about Marion Cunningham.
Oh, Marion. What are you talking about? Hey, Mrs. C. Mrs. C. That's what they used to call her.
Yeah.
Marion Ross, who is, I think, in her 90s now, and she's still alive, played the quintessential 50s wife. In this comedy, though, she was a little bit of the June Cleaver. And, of course, her life was focused on her kids and her husband, Howard, who owned the hardware store.
I liked Howard.
Yeah. And you could tell that they really had a loving relationship. Howard had a lot of respect for Marion and his wife. And
didn't he whine to her a lot, though? Wasn't he always like, Marion?
Well,
didn't he do that a lot?
A little bit, yeah. But everyone had a lot of respect for Mrs. C.
Okay.
You know, she was the only one that had the power to call Fonzie Arthur, which was his real name.
Right. I do remember that.
And I remember, I mean, you know, she told him to sit on it and got away with it, which was like a curse word in Happy Days land. And she was also the only one that could make cool Fonzie blush. Never, like, she would give him a kiss or whatever, he would, like, blush. Now, I gotta say, if you can make Fonzie do all that stuff, then that's some power and respect. And that's what Mrs. C had. I mean, she ran the family, but she was very respected, for her opinions and things. But, I mean, she was also, Marion Ross also had a great comedic performance with her as well, because she did kind of play that, just kind of, she's going along for the ride, quintessential 50s wife. So.
Yeah.
But I really did. I thought Marion Ross did a good job at Marion Cunningham, and she was just very sweet and very cool and just a very loving mom for all those kids. And Chuck, I don't know whatever happened to Chuck. He was in like the first 2 seasons, then left. I don't know if that's like they had Joni, and then they had
Chachi.
Richie. And then they had Chuck. And Chuck was only in like the first 2 seasons, and then he just went away.
Happy Days Mysteries.
The real story behind that is Chuck left. They got rid of Chuck because they wanted Richie and Fonzie to have that brotherly, connection.
Chuck didn't fit in. Sorry, Chuck. We're going to have to let you go.
Once Fonzie kind of took over as the breakout star, it was like Richie and Fonzie were, Richie needed a brother, and that was Fonzie.
Or maybe Henry Winkler just needed more money, and somebody had to take the hit.
They had to take it. All I know is that Chuck would just bounce the ball all the time. He was a basketball player, and he would just come up to the table and, Chuck, don't bounce the ball at the table.
That's a pretty horrible brand that he had. That I see why Chuck didn't last beyond 2 years now.
There were 2 different characters too. There were 2 different Chucks.
Really?
Yeah.
They really tried with Chuck. They really tried.
It's
just not working out.
It's just not. Hey, Chuck, it's just not working out.
There's somebody who came up with a Chuck character that's like, this has got to work. I'm telling you. And everybody else is like, dude, it's over.
Okay, listen.
It's over.
What if I get a different actor? I'll get a different actor. All right, we'll give you a shot.
I'm telling you, this guy is deep. He bounces the ball right there on that table. That's his thing. This has got to work.
So that was it. Yeah, Chuck. R.I.P. Chuck. But Marion Cunningham was number, what was that?
That was 6, Brian. Nice job.
All right, number 6. All right, we're on to the top 5, and we are moving on into our top half. We do have... sorry. Sorry, dude.
What's our top 5? We are now moving into our top half. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The hell was that? Our 5. There's a number 2 and a 3 and a 4 in there.
These.
The top half. Yup. These are the 1%ers.
Okay.
All right. What you got for number 5? Yeah, what you got, bro?
That was actually me just needing some time to look at what I'm going to pick. All right.
Of course.
Number 5 is going to be Elise Keaton.
All right.
From Family Ties. It was Alex P. Keaton's mom, and also Mallory, and who else? Who else was there?
Well, Tina Yothers, and then what was her?
I forgot her character.
Oh, Jennifer? Was it
Jennifer? That's it, Jennifer.
Jennifer Keaton.
And then I think there was Andy. Andrew was the youngest. Remember, they had a
Oh my
baby.
God, they did. Yeah, Mallory, little Andy, who was like a little Alex, I think, and of course Alex, and then Jennifer,
and of course
then
Nick.
God bless. Yeah, and Nick. Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Keaton.
Mr. Keaton. Well, Nick, I don't really know, Nick. I'm not really sure, but let me go get Mallory.
When doing the research for Elise Keaton, I kept saying this: ex-hippie liberal turned architect, and she was the mother of 4. I also like how Elise always challenged her Republican son, and I think that was very part of that whole exchange, because they were very ex-hippie, very Woodstock, and they had their ideals, and then you have the Republican son who has his own ideas, like the whole yuppie world of the Wall Street. So you definitely did see that as the baby boomers versus the Wall Street yuppies. And I think Elise just followed right into that. Always saw her as a patient, loving, and kind mom. She always seemed to have a very calm control over her children and what was going on. It was also very real world in the fact that, you never really saw Elise all the time. A lot of times in that show, Elise would be at work or whatever, and it was always the older brothers and sisters helping out Jennifer or helping out little Andy or whatever. So I thought it was very real world.
Yes.
What is that about?
No, I'm just laughing at the kid, Andy.
Andy. didn't know what you're talking. I was like, what are you
Fucking
laughing
Andy.
about?
It's just ridiculous.
So, it was very 80s working mom of them to make Elise like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you described her as having calm control. I had a similar version of that. Warm and comforting were the first couple of words that I wrote down about her. She was that. As you said, she was intelligent because she was willing to take on her son and obviously was a career woman. Seemed to, like, one of her tricks that came across on that show on Family Ties was that she seemed to care about all three of her kids equally.
Yeah.
Like, she was invested in all of them. I mean, clearly.
You mean
the show
4 kids?
Oh, yeah, I'm so stupid little Andy.
Don't forget Andy.
God, you know what? Note to us, there is a podcast to be done on added characters to television shows.
Absolutely.
Right? Like that stupid little kid in Different Strokes. What was his name?
Mr. D. Sam.
Sam.
Yeah, those are like called Jump the Shark characters, like Sam, and you got Andy. There was the guy from Brady Bunch. Yeah, they put the kids that were trying.
Cosby Show added an extra little cutie.
Kids that are trying to save the series.
Yep. They realized how well the poor Rudy grew up and she wasn't as cute anymore. So they're like, we better go get a younger one now because Rudy is aged out at age 9.
I would save that for another show, dude.
All right, we'll do that. No, so listeners, that it's coming soon. Those characters like friggin' Andy from Family Ties, who Brian is so up on. But anyway, so all 4 kids, she seemed to do a good job at portraying a mom who was highly interested in all of her kids' lives, and I thought that was just great. And yeah, the show, they didn't have her always in. The show became about Michael J. Fox and Alex P. Keaton. They was the undisputed star of that show, and that it was everything centered on him. And yeah, there was other silliness and ridiculousness, and Elise Keaton was a glue character on that show, and so yeah, she's a winner, man. I always got a warm place in my heart for old Elise Keaton. All right,
that's a good wrap up.
Yeah, you did 5, so I will now do 4 as we get down to
Is that how that works, Mark? Is that how that works?
Top half, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Payback.
Very good. Very good, Mr. Mitchell. Very good. Very good. For number 4, I am going to go with Carmela Soprano. All right, here it is, plain and simple. Carmela Soprano, she had balls, man. She was running a home that was run by, that was fortified by a gangster, a dangerous, murderous, scandalous thief of a man in Tony Soprano, a dangerous, dangerous man. And I tell you what, she ran that like as if he wasn't that way. She had the balls to stand up to him. Like I was like, when I watched The Sopranos, there was always a little part of me that was worried about Carmela when she started to get out of hand and yelling at Tony and hitting Tony. Like I was like, you may not want to push it because Tony will whack you. And that was never even part of the conversation. She had carte blanche. She had immunity from Tony, and she used it so well. She had balls, and she was a great mom too. She had to keep she might have been the best mom on this list because, again, gangster as a husband, not at home a lot of times, not at home, and went home probably sleeping or working out some sort of hit. And she kept the family together. Wasn't always pretty. The kids had problems, but she solved the problems.
Yeah, it's an interesting story. I mean, I think it's because they got married so young that they really made that tight bond. And as he grew in organized crime, Tony Soprano, they're young, then they go and have their 2 kids. And of course, as you said, she was well aware of her life and that her life was made on blood money. But she still tried to put some sort of legitimacy in her family life. She was very protective of her family. She loved her husband, and she struggled with that life. I mean, even though, he was bringing in this money, she knew it was bad money. She knew that he was always at the bada bing, probably fooling around with one of the strippers or having some type of crazy infidelity. And his career was just like that. Probably drove her crazy, but she tried to hang in there. Not only that, but she was like a pretty dedicated Catholic. So she had had all that Catholic guilt going around on her husband's lifestyle and trying to make something out of that. So I just think it had so many levels in that character, and Edie Falco did a great job playing that. She didn't like that lifestyle also because it put her family at risk, you know?
Sure.
But she still stood by him. So, I mean, she was always an amazing right-hand man or mom for Tony.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
An amazing mother,
woman.
an amazing partner, and that is Carmela Soprano at number 4.
We got to take a quick break. You are listening to Let Me Put a List Together on the Podcast Entertainment Network.
Get in touch with the show through email at lists@podcastentertainment.com.
Why would an oil and gas company tie executives' pay to lowering the carbon emissions intensity of their operations? Because we believe in actions, not just words. Learn more at chevron.com/lower carbon.
To show you how easy it is to file a claim with Geico, we hired a Shakespearean actor.
Oh, woe is me. Wherefore art thy claims help when I hadst a fender bender?
Pardon the interruption, but when you file a claim with Geico, your claims team will be in touch right away.
But willest they forget about me later when thou needest updates?
No. They'll always be there to, helpeth you out.
Well, I suppose that I should bemoan something else, like my lactose intolerance. Oh, whyest must dairy disagree with me so savagely?
Geico. Great service without all the drama.
And now, back to Let Me Put a List Together on the Podcast Entertainment Network.
Here we go. Here's where we are, folks, because we're getting down to the nitty-gritty. June Cleaver at 10, 9, Peg Bundy, 8, Marge Simpson, 7, Edith Bunker, 6, Marion Cunningham, 5, Elise Keaton, 4, Carmela Soprano, 3 goes to Brian Mitchell.
And number 3 is going to be Roseanne Connor, played by Roseanne Barr or Roseanne Arnold or whatever her name is now. This was a shocking show when it came out. And I don't know if you remember that, like around 88. Like this was like, oh my gosh, this is so real world. This is real world TV mom of the late 80s. Roseanne, she works in a factory. Her husband is a contractor. They have this nice, okay house. She rules the house with sarcasm and love for her kids and her husbands. I mean, she makes jokes at them and she calls them out. And she sees the world what it is day to day. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's rough, but she's always handling it with, some type of love and humor. And that's what Roseanne Connor did. Lots of people could relate to her character, and I think that's why Roseanne did so well on TV, because I think a lot of people, working middle class really saw themselves in what Roseanne and Dan had and what their struggles were growing up, bringing a family up in the late 80s. I mean, it was a struggle at that time, and I think a lot of people related with Roseanne, and she did such a great job bringing that across as the mom of the late 80s.
Yeah, relatability is a great word to describe her. So the relatability factor, that is spot on by you. Like that is huge. There's a realness to her that we don't really see with a lot of the moms on this list, like June Cleaver, Marge Simpson, and Peg Bundy. Those aren't really real moms. I actually think Carmela Soprano is relatable, and not necessarily in the gangster way, but just as somebody dealing with a lot of shit in her life. But Roseanne Barr, she is the anti-mom too. Like she's not like taking crap from these kids. You know what I mean? If these kids come home, she's going to tell it like it is. She's going to embarrass them. She is going to admonish them and belittle them because you know what? Roseanne in that show, she's still trying to make it too, man. She's trying to put together the blue collar thing. She's trying to put food on the table. She doesn't have time for this shit with these kids. So she was rude. I think crude is an even better word to describe her. She was probably the cool mom on the block too. Like, hey, we could all go to the Connor household. Her mom's cool. Her dad's pretty cool too. We could totally hang out with the Connors. Yeah, you could probably party over there, but she'd probably say, I'm not bailing you out of jail though. Exactly, That's on you. I'm not. Hey, tough luck. And if your mom comes over here, I don't give a shit. You're going home with her. So she had little empathy, it seemed, for people because she was just trying to make it in the world herself. So Roseanne Connor, the anti-mom, at number 3.
All right. So as we move to number 2, that is you, Mr. Mark.
I am going to go with my number 2 as Carol Brady from the Brady Bunch, of course. And again, we do have a case of to a different type than June Cleaver, but this is a pretty idealized mom here, something of a fantasy mom, friendly, sympathetic, never moody, available, loved her husband in a very kind of silly, innocent, peck on the lips sort of way as not to offend anybody. She was amenable to to strange kids, obviously, because, Mr. Brady brings in 3 kids and she welcomed them without a hitch. She was 2 more things. She was nice to the help. I'll say that as a generalized statement. Alice became a part of the family because of how warm and comforting she was. She went to Alice for advice on things. So I loved that portrayal. And then lastly, this is going to be controversial, and this is not the idealized mom. I don't want to get gross here, but she was, Carol Brady was hot.
Oh, so, there it is.
She was very, you didn't see that necessarily flaunted with a lot of the moms. I think it's not flaunted, but she was just very pretty, and she wore the little mini skirts, and she was a great figure. So that I thought that was a little different than the way other moms were portrayed. Yes, moms can be hot.
You heard it here first. Moms can be hot.
That's right. That's right.
Carol Brady was the mom that you wish you had if the world was perfect. She was always, as you said, in a great mood, ready to give you solid advice if you needed it. She loved her husband and always wanted to spend time with him. Isn't that perfect?
Well, Mike, I think we should have a night in tonight.
Yeah, let's do that. All right. Was always dressed, as you said, with her hair done. She's just staying at home, partying with Alice, maybe playing cards, whatever. She also, the thing I noticed about Carol Brady, she always had a really pleasant voice. She had a very soft voice. Her voice was very friendly.
It's a perfect mom tone.
Yeah. But don't get me wrong, if you screwed up, though, you knew Carol was going to give it to you, and talk about how bad would you feel if Carol Brady was angry at you?
Ooh, just one look. One
look. I mean, you would just feel like you would crumble.
I'd go to my room. I'd send myself to my room. I'm like, yep, I'm going to my room, and then I should probably be punished for a couple weeks.
I think she definitely was always focused on the entire family, and it was all about, doing family trips, and she didn't care about the outside career. But there's also a lot of discussion about whether Mrs. Brady could have been the mom that she was without Alice. What do you think about that? Could she have done it without Alice?
I mean, that's a great point. And as I just pointed out, too, she was pro Alice. It wasn't just here's what you do. It was assumed that Alice had what we call autonomy. She could do whatever she wanted. And Carol wanted it that way because I think you're right. I don't think she could have been the mom that she was with 6 kids, 3 of them strange. Yeah. And without the help of another mom or another character that could watch over children.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. That's the question we'll leave with you. Could Mrs. Brady have been the Queen Mrs. Brady without Alice?
So you're saying she's a bit of a fraud then? Or are you just asking the question?
I'm just asking the question. I never said that. Okay. I like Carol Brady. I mean, I do at number 2.
Hey, let's face it. At the end of the day, she's hot. So that's really all that matters.
You go. Mark
that's all that matters.
is in love with Carol Brady, one of his first crushes, I think, as a young man.
Yeah, I don't even know if I had a crush on her, but it just I'm sorry I've discomforted you on this.
Seriously, I feel
I just turned 50, remember? So
that's right, yeah. So now you're looking back at Mrs. Brady. Going,
whatever happened to the Mark Grody Turned 50 podcast, Brian? You never did that.
Maybe we'll do that. It's still January. We could still do that.
That's true. Anyways. That's true. All right, here's the list. 10, June Cleaver. 9, Peg Bundy. 8, Marge Simpson. 7, Edith Bunker. 6, Marion Cunningham. 5, Elise Keaton. 4, Carmela Soprano. 3, Roseanne Connor. 2, Carol Brady. And what is left on the list? Process of elimination puts who at number 1?
Number 1 is going to be Claire Huxtable of The Cosby Show, played brilliantly by Felicia Rashad.
Hot.
She
no, I'm kidding.
was the answer to the 50s mom. She put June Cleaver and, of course, the 70s mom, Carol Brady, and all those women in their place because not only was she educated, she was a lawyer on top of that who didn't have a housekeeper, who still had time to raise 6 kids, and still had time for her loving partner, Dr. Huxtable.
Cliff.
Cliff. You would not want to get in trouble with Mrs. Huxtable because if you think that Dr. Huxtable was bad. Mrs. Huxtable, whenever you did something wrong, she treated every disciplinary action as if she was in a court case and your ass was going to lose. So, like, don't even try it. I mean, once you sat in there and you tried to give excuses on, you know, why you stayed out all night to go see some band in Jersey or whatever, and you got caught or you got caught drinking or whatever, you could never bring up some type of excuse or even explanation because you were going to lose with Mrs. Huxtable because she was all there, man. And as I said, and Felicia Rashad absolutely was a beautiful, beautiful mom.
Yeah.
She had it all. I mean, she was the all-around perfect 90s mom, I guess you would say, right?
Yeah. Well, and I honestly, absolutely, she was the new mom, the new 90s mom. I say, like, she's almost the mom of now, too.
Yeah.
She's the mom of 2022. You don't talk to many women these days who are not professional women, who are not going to college to do something with their lives. You don't have a lot of women who say, yes, I'm just going to be a house mom. And I shouldn't say just, because that's an extremely admirable thing to do and to dedicate your life to. But she is what has been perfected now. And also the other part too is this portrayed something different than all of us whiteys have seen. And that's a powerful black family, that it's a black family that is doing this and can be shown in that light, as opposed to the old school ways with, you know, Jimmy Walker and all of that, and sitcoms portrayed as being a doctor and a lawyer. Like, that was pretty powerful, and Claire Huxtable like shined in that part as well. So, and here's what I would say, and you nailed everything about her character and what she meant and means and all of that. I also love the chemistry that Claire Huxtable had with Cliff. It was unbelievable. Like, they would have those final scenes where they would be in the bed together, and, you know, Cliff would say something stupid and then she would say something even more witty. And then there was always here's another thing too that was real about them. There was also like a fun little sexual tension between the two of them. You know what I mean? Like, you could feel it, and like you felt like the love, the innocent love, and then you felt the sexual love too. And I thought was important.
15, of course. When you were
it was like, okay, that's cool to see.
Oh, I was feeling this
hey, man,
sexual tension.
I think she was a good model for any mom watching, to say, hey, yeah, you can have all of this, but you could also still love your husband, the man with whom you started this whole thing. Like,
and you could still be attractive and all of that.
Attractive and attracted and that whole thing. So that's what, yeah, you're right. That's what I saw through Mark Garoti's, you know, post-adolescent eyes. I was like, that's cool, man. I like that.
Oh, geez. Thank you, Mark, for letting us in your little crazy world there for a little
Really,
bit.
this whole podcast is about how my brain works and the things that I get wrong that you can correct me on in songs or lyrics or anything that is sexuality.
Oh, that's hilarious. All right. Yes. So that is our list with Claire Huxtable at number 1. Of course, that is our combined list. So we just kind of take the names and throw them into a stew and see what comes out on top. So now we are going to do our individual lists, and I will start with mine. So my list looks like this. Number 10, Peg Bundy. Number 9, Edith Bunker. Number 8, Marge Simpson. Number 7, Elise Keaton. Number 6, Carmela Soprano. Number 5, Roseanne Connor. Number 4, Marion Cunningham. Number 3, Claire Huxtable. Number 2, June Cleaver. And number 1, Carol Brady.
Okay, our lists are different, man. Number 10, June Cleaver. Number 9, Marge Simpson. Number 8, Marion Cunningham. 7, Peg Bundy. 6, Carmela Soprano. Number 5, Roseanne. 4, Elise Keaton. 3, the hot Carol Brady. 2, the beautiful sexual Claire Huxtable. And number 1, Edith Bunker.
What? Oh, man.
Come on, man.
Jeez.
Edith Bunker. That was a character, bro. That's one of the great characters of our lifetime, on one of the great sitcoms of our lifetime.
Yeah.
So there it is. Yeah, man. I was looking forward to hearing our individual list. We usually line up somewhat closely on these things, but on this one, we do not.
No, we are not anywhere near close on the moms. All right, so we did throw this comment out to our Let Me Put a List Together people out on the Facebook world, and we did get some responses. Some of their favorites are basically right in line with what we are. Paul said June Cleaver and Peg Bundy. Also said Kitty Foreman from That 70s Show, which was very popular on a lot of these lists. Kitty Foreman from That 70s Show. But that is definitely an honorable mention. A lot of the ones that also Laura Petrie, the Dick Van Dyke.
Dick Van Dyke.
Dick Van Dyke Show. Maggie Seaver.
Oh, yeah.
Harriet Winslow from Family Matters. Vivian Banks from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Marge Simpson, Corey said. Also, I'm trying to see if there's any other ones. Sophia Petrillo, which was the old lady in the Golden Girls. And is it Mary Barone? Is that how you say it? Mary Barone. And everybody loves Raymond.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't like that one because that show, and I haven't watched a lot of Everybody Loves Raymond, but what I do know about that show is that they had but the kid was oftentimes not in the show and not a part of the show. Yeah. So that's a weird one. Fair enough.
What about Lily Munster?
Oh, my God. I feel like there's a different category, like the weird moms. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Lily Munster or the Morticia from Addams Family.
Yeah, that's a different category. Yeah. Those shows are their own entities.
What about Mrs. Ingalls from Little House on the Prairie?
Oh, man. Yeah, I suppose so. But she would also fall in that category of like fantasy mom, ridiculous, cut the crap. What's really on your mind here, Laura? Come here.
Come here, Laura.
Come on. Sit by old Uncle Mark and tell me what's really going on. Yeah, who you mad at?
There it is.
Who you mad at? You tired?
I'm getting uncomfortable again.
Yeah, you tired of this, this discriminatory lifestyle you're leading? Come away. Let's get on a horse and trot away, Ms. Ingalls.
Oh, man. All right. That's going to wrap up. Let me put a list together.
Come on, man. You've never heard of hot moms?
Yes.
Come on. Everybody's talking about hot moms. Moms can be hot, Brian.
Okay.
Why don't you like hot moms?
I know. That's fine. They can be hot. I'm married to one,
okay. Well, you better be. You better be. Yeah.
I'm married to one right now, so
that's true.
I'm good.
We thank you for listening. As always, we invite you to listen wherever you get your podcasts. We're also on YouTube and Apple Podcasts and all the different fun places. We appreciate your feedback, your comments, your ratings.
You're subscribing.
Really love that. Yeah, subscribe to us, and if you got an idea for a list, sometimes we use those lists. So we appreciate that wholly. For Brian Mitchell, I'm Mark Grody. We'll talk to you soon, and let me put a list together.
Get in touch with the show through email at lists@podcastentertainment.com. Follow Let Me Put a List Together on Twitter @PodEntertain.
Enjoying this podcast? Be sure to check out all the other PEN podcasts by visiting www.podcastentertainment.com.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Let Me Put a List Together.